Going on? It's well, let me start it off again. Just missed our tagline. It is me, Jaws Blake, as you well know. And I am here to say hello to you. Because I love you. And I want you to have a good day, have a good breakfast, and all those things. I have a very big day today. I gotta pack up stuff. I gotta clean a little bit. I gotta go to a friend's wake. For those who watched the show last week, I had to rush off because I got a phone call that a friend of mine had passed away. And his name was Brian Noriega. He was this really great kid, really great guy. And I knew him for 20 years. We'd been friends, coworkers, etc. And we'd always hung out and just been good to each other. Yeah, it's looking crazy. And he passed away recently. So I'm going to try to muster up the nerve, the bravery to go to the funeral. I thought about not doing the show today, actually. And partially because all the boxes. But partially just because I didn't know what to say. I have lived this life so long that I have done this several times now. With quite a few old friends. And it's not easy. It's never easy. You don't really adjust and get used to it. So, this is kind of it's a difficult moment. And then we're in the process of moving. We've done so much, but it looks like we've done so little at the same time. Because the house, you know, it's a home. So that's always crazy. I did get to see my new space, my new studio space, mostly empty yesterday. So I've got ideas now about what I want to do with it. I couldn't really see it before. What I always try and tell people is when you're setting up a studio, an art studio for yourself, figure out all the little things that you need. Like get your big furniture, figure out where that's going to go. Then figure out, utilize like shelving and like things that open and close. Everything doesn't have to be out constantly. I think there's like a pressure that happens when you see all your goods basically strewn about. And then you feel like, oh, I gotta use this and I gotta use this and I gotta use this. And it's like, well, no, not really. It's just interesting. I've always had this policy when it comes to making art where I think you should always have more supplies than you need. I know this is like going against what I just said, but hear me out. There's this nervousness that hits a lot of artists that they're going to run out of supplies in the middle of working on something. For some of us, it's very exciting. For others of us, it's extremely intimidating. So in that concept, you have to kind of get ahead of it, you know? Whatever works for you is what works for you. But I've found in my life that a lot of things. Hey, brother, how are you? Mm. A hard macaroni piece. I've found that like when a lot of times when I'm making art, that like I said, I love to have like extra canvases and stuff like that. Wow, DB, that is a that is a deep question that I will not get into with you. That's a wild question. I'm gonna let somebody else answer that question for you. I don't feel like I don't feel quite like that's what we're gonna talk about today. What I will say is, hey Billy, what I will say is, as an artist who draws people, I think there's a spectrum of different types of body types and body maintenance and all these things. And so you have to realize that like everyone should be represented in art. I think the hard part is like you go to art galleries and stuff like that, and it's not always like welcoming. You may not see yourself represented in such a strong aspect of things that represent you. I'm just saying represented a bunch of times. Like I like to go to art galleries and museums. And in a lot of those paintings, like they don't really show people who are a bit heavier or are skinny, or it's always kind of like the perfect human being type of image that's put forward. And then subconsciously, you think that's how everyone is supposed to be. So I always make it a point to try and figure out a way to make it all more accessible. I'm not opposed to painting someone with body hair. I'm not opposed to painting someone without body hair. I'm not opposed to painting someone without hair. I'm not opposed to painting someone with a lot of hair. And also stuff in the middle. Like I think it's really important that hello, can I have some food please? Yes, sure. You just pull up and we'll just pick off, you know? Pick off what you want. That'd be great. Mm. This is pretty good though. My wife and my in-laws made a lot of like food for Thanksgiving. And I have my qualms about that day. I've never really truly loved it. I'm not a huge I'm not a huge person about food. I like food. I enjoy it, but it's not like this thing that I'm super super passionate about. I know people who they go all over just to kind of get like a plate, and that's never really been me. What I typically do, I'll grab a book and a sketch pad, and I'll just draw and paint most of the day, and try and stay out of everybody's way. I'll do like a grocery run, and I'll grab all the foods that they need, and they go cook for me. No, I'll try and stay everybody's way. Honestly, I think there's a certain aspect where it's like you want to be helpful, but you don't want to be like in the way of people. And because I have dietary restrictions, I typically don't eat everything that everybody else eats anyways. So like the people are like making me specifically a plate of food. Which is always kind of hard. That's not nice. So I always try and like get, the best way that I can. I figure out what I can do, what I need to get out of people's way about. And I feel like I've successfully done that this year. I just got out of the way. So they made me lots of like hot peppers, which is a very big thing for me. I love hot peppers. Um, like habaneros and like, take it easy today. You deserve it. Thank you. Likewise, I appreciate that. I really do. It's gonna be such a hard day today, and I'm so kind of, I feel defeated in a lot of ways about this. Like, there's just so many things that are happening, and then with Brian passing and everything, it's just so, it's so heavy, you know. I thought about shaving off my beard to go to this wake, but then I was like, that doesn't make sense. And there's no reason behind it. Like, it was just like, maybe that's like a nice thing to do, to not show up kind of scruffy. I have a trimmer, so I'm probably gonna like make it a little cleaner. Thank you, Bentley. I appreciate that. I just don't know. I don't know what to do. I really don't. I thought I would. I thought as the day approached, I was going to be sure which direction I was going to go with any of the things. Going, not going. And I just don't know. I don't know. I don't want to talk about that all day. It was kind of funny. We were going through, Alec and my wife, were going through a bunch of closets we have in our house and giving away a bunch of things, throwing out a bunch of things. I do have a wife. And it's kind of crazy how much stuff you accumulate in a lifetime. Like, we have lived in this house for 12 years. And we are moving down the road. So it's a little wild to like go through all this stuff and be like, why did we keep this? Why do I just have a blender in a box? You know? Why do I have a why do I have 3 coffee makers? Like with the studio, I get the stuff. Like, I have duplicates of everything because I have this like internal fear that I'm gonna run out of paper. Which at this point, there's no way I'm running out of paper. There's internal fear I'm gonna run out of ink. There's no way I'm gonna run out of ink. Brushes, tons of those. My easel's not gonna break. I take good care of that. It's just wild. There are these fears that are completely unnecessary that just sit in your mind and try and make you nervous about everything. Like, what if I remember like being like a really young artist and like being worried when I autographed something or I signed something, not really autographed at that point, but when I signed something that I need to do it in the right place so that I didn't mess up the painting. Until I realized like it doesn't matter. People don't care. But it was one of those things where like it was definitely like a gun shy thing. Like, you're very frightened and afraid that somehow you're gonna mess this up. Which is deeply silly. I remember the one thing a friend of mine told me many, many years ago was, if you sign your stuff, if you're gonna make prints of it, don't, what is it? find a negative space to do it on, and then if you can go back when you make a print, digitally erase the signature, so that way you can actually sign the print physically when people buy them. I think as I've gotten older, it's become less of a thing that I care about. But occasionally, it's the things that I see still out there, you know? That artists don't sign their work, and that way when they make prints of it, they can sign it. And there's not like a double signature somewhere. Or it's like a Where's Waldo type of thing, where you're trying to figure out where you're going to sign something that people have to like look for. It's such a strange game we play with ourselves, really, because there's nothing particularly interesting or breathtaking or amazing about doing that. Like, the average person doesn't care. These are just things that like artists freak themselves out about. They have nothing to do with anyone else. Like, in your mind, you think, "Oh, this is really important. People are going to care," and it's like no one cares. No one cares. No one notices. It doesn't really matter. But these are the things you think about. It's kind of silly and it's funny and it's just goofy. But it's life, you know? I think in a lot of ways I am still afraid of success in a lot of ways. Like, I've definitely reached it, but it really frightens me in the same extent. Like, I won't lie to you and say when I get an email that I have to ship something to someone, part of me isn't just nervous about how I'm going to figure out the next thing I need to do that like grabs people's attention for the next deal, the next sale. It's weird because I never expected when I made art that I was going to worry about making more art. Like, that just seems kind of crazy to me, you know? And then the holidays are coming up and I have to figure out all these sales that I need to do, ways I need to market, so I can make more sales, so I can pay for all these presents I need to buy people, and pay bills. It's just kind of wild. Like, it almost feels kind of like an endless cycle of everything. Reminds me of like my first time paying a bill as an adult. Like, you're like, wow, I did it. And then you're like, oh, I gotta make sure I have enough money so I can pay the next bill. And so on and so forth. This whole capitalist thing is just kind of a little miserable, I gotta be honest with you. And I know not everybody cares for socialism. Or at least they're told they don't care for socialism, but they still use lots of socialist programs. They use roads. They use public transportation. They like that they're grocery stores. They like that there are aid programs and the fact that you can call an ambulance and just all these things. Like, they exist. You're not paying for them individually. They're programs set up so you can just use them. It's just interesting. It's interesting to see how people, like, they love to pretend like they want everything to be like this super hard earned thing, and it's like, no, sometimes you just want to be able to just have things if you need them. that there's regulations on things so that you're not paying. Somebody didn't see you coming and then they raise the price like $16,000, even though it was $1 before you walked in the store. Like there's certain rules. I think painting's kind of like that in a lot of ways. Like the artwork is available, it's there. We use social media, which we don't have to pay for, thankfully, because sometimes it's real crap. And we get to see everybody's work, you know? The highs, the lows, the wins, the losses. You get to interact with people. You're not having to come out of pocket for every letter that's typed. It's not like a BlackBerry back in the like early. When was that? 1990s. There we go. It's just interesting. I wish I had some good advice for you this week. I just don't. I feel very tapped out on a lot of things. And I'm trying. I really am. Because I love you. And I want you to do well. I want you to be happy. Be successful. And I want to celebrate in all your wins and accomplishments. As well as I want you to be able to do the same for me. It's just difficult this week. I think the hard part as you get older is the holiday season is like this big stressor that just sits on your chest because it's no longer about like getting things that you want. It's about trying to give things to other people aggressively that they want. And there's a genuine fear that you're going to let people down. I mean, I haven't. And I'm old, and I still haven't. I wish I knew the perfect way to give people things. I think it's like an artist, people are like, oh, you just give people paintings. And it's like, yes and no. Like, if all you ever do is like hand make stuff for people, that's just like, hey, I made some artwork, here you go. You've like bombarded people with stuff they don't necessarily want. And I think a lot of times like getting people stuff they want is a big deal. You don't have to spend like an arm and a leg. You can very well make people things by hand. But I think it's important to give people the things that they want by hand if you're going to do it. Like I've seen a couple of things recently that I want to get my loved ones for the holidays. I myself don't really want anything physical, if that makes sense. Like I'd rather just have I'd rather sit down and have like a meal with you, or have a cup of coffee and a conversation, go to a museum, a free museum, and have that experience. Like you want to do me a favor, drive somewhere. drive me somewhere that we can go and have a good time. Like not having to physically get in my car and then drive all over the place and figure out parking and all these things. That's a pretty big deal in my life. It's simple, but like it hits me here because it's something that like I still get anxiety driving. I've been driving for over 25 years. I still get anxiety about driving sometimes. Driving in the city, in DC, jeez. They're such bad drivers, and then parking is sometimes like $20. And it's these like subterranean, underground, crazy looking things. I don't know who's ever been to DC before. It's a madhouse. I think if I could have one thing that would be really cool to have for like a weekend would be we get to go to one of those. My wife and I get to go to one of those little cabin things in the woods. and just lay around, eat food, and have some campfires, chill out, listen to some music, and just look up at the stars, man. There's so little of it that's really about like having things, you know? Things aren't so much necessary anymore. I mean, I still need stuff, don't get me wrong, but I'd like to think that I'm getting closer to not needing anything. I think it's kind of like the big goal. And I'm not saying it like in a you don't need items type of thing or uh, some aesthetic where there's nothing there in a room or whatever. Because I don't agree with that. I think culturally, most cultures like things on their walls. They like things. They like colorful things. They like textured things. They like all this stuff. I think like the idea of this nihilism about things is kind of ugly. It's a really ugly aesthetic. Like when I go into a place and there are bare walls, like just not even like a bare wall, like there's nothing on this wall is fine, but like that you don't have any personality traits hanging feels kind of sad to me. It feels like you haven't moved in yet, you know? So, I'm sorry to bring you down. I don't mean to on this one. It's just a hard day. If you could, please go check out the Patreon. Um, there's lots of fun stuff there that I put up every month, every week. Some free stuff, some stuff that is you have to pay to see. But there's lots of good stuff you can just subscribe to. Check it out. Subscribe to this because I'm always putting up stuff. Lots of shorts, lots of art shorts, lots of art videos, lots of stuff like that. So I'd really love that for you. I got like two prints in the store right now, two crow prints that I would really like to sell out on. So if you would love to get some of those for the holidays, that would be super cool. And just be nice to yourself. There is a small possibility that we will be moved in partially to our new spot, and I'll be in the new studio next week. So I hope to see you then. I love you very much. I think you're wonderful. Have a good one. Buenas noches. Paint her out, kids. Paint her out.